5:16 and you're.
Okay, we should be live. Remember to use your mics.
All right, if anybody is watching from home, we are just waiting a couple more minutes for Dr. Stephen Black to get in.
Hey, Doc. I got you here, so it's a little closer. Yes, those mics are what were installed so that we do not have to have mics for anybody that would speak from the audience, for the Ray, or for our administrative team.
All right.
So now we should be up and running. Mr. Craig is double checking the levels when people are going to be talking so that hopefully it's being received appropriately on the other end.
All right, well, we'll get started with the committee meeting. First, we'll discuss the increasing the teacher substitute pay to 70% of the base salary beginning next school year.
Yeah, so as you probably recall, we're currently at $160 a day. So we're talking for just short-term subbing, not for long-term subs. There's no recommended change for long-term subs because if they go long-term over 20 days, I think, is it 20, Lorraine?
Yes.
Then they revert to a daily rate that's based off of our base wage already. And that's fairly standard in terms of my experience. But I've recently been informed that both Osceola and Unity have increased their daily sub rate pay to around $180 an hour. And as a result of that, and thinking this through in terms of, hopefully, well, we already have attached it to anytime we would have a wage increase, which we'll be talking about a potential staff wage increase in a month or so, then that sub rate would increase as well by roughly similar percentage. And so the district had engaged in that practice, which meant that that number would incrementally increase at least over time. With the modification from moving to 160 to 180 and changing it to 70% of base, that puts you in that sweet spot. And my hope is that we then keep pace with regular frequency for modifications in when then our base rate increases with future, our teaching base rate increases with future wage adjustments, that number being 70% of that base will as well and keep pace with what we're seeing in other districts and hopefully potentially even outpace that. But we'll have to pay attention to it. So 70% of base, right now base is $49,230. They are 190-day contracts, so you divide that by 190 days. And then you divide that by, or you multiply that by 70% or by 0.7, and you get $181 and some odd cents. So what we do is just round down to 180. And in the future, then when that's modified, then there would be a modification as a result of action on wages for staff generally. So the long and short of it is it would move our rates for next year from 160 to 180, and then hopefully keep pace with some incremental increase over time.
Per day.
Per day.
Why round down?
Just making the whole number. I mean, we could go to 185. It was just what's easiest for reflection rather than having, $1.30 or whatever it is. And so we would round up if it got to a number that was to the next 5, right?
And is rounding easily written into the handbook? Doesn't this have to be reflected in our handbook?
Yeah, what we'll do is, is sub pay in the handbook?
Yes, we need to change it because there's a dollar amount listed.
So what we do is reflect it as 70% of the base rounded to the nearest 10, and that should be pretty self-explanatory. Because if it was the nearest 5, pardon me. Because if it was 183, we just round to 185.
Is it a difference for long-term sub then, or no?
Yeah, so long-term subs after 20 days are at the bachelor's daily rate anyway. And that is significantly higher than 180. That's what I can tell you. 259 at our current base.
And what's our average number of subs a day, would you say, in the school year?
Oh boy, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's rare that we don't have a sub in the building, in any building, any day. So it kind of depends. It's a symptom of circumstance, but we at least have, boy, I had to think of an average per day, it's what, 5, do you think, guys? 5 subs per day,
Yeah.
probably?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? We'll move on to the ECCP, the Early College Credit Program. There was a final one, 35.
Yep, that's pretty status quo. Those are evaluated, of course, for ensuring that they pass muster and are credits that are not available here at St. Clair Falls High School and so forth. But kind of like open enrollment, we don't really have an opportunity to say, no, you can't do this as long as it passes our expectations and policy, so.
Any questions or comments on those? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Canadian 2025 FFA Canada trip, which we've been doing for many, many years. Looks like it's the same protocol, Mr. Waltz, Mr. Cernak going up with a group of students who have earned it in the FFA program. Yeah?
Pretty much.
With minimal financial impact, I think it was $100 per student out of pocket. Great opportunity.
Yep. And if they can't afford it, there's alternative methods for getting that taken care of.
Any other questions or comments?
It's a great thing the kids talk about for years afterwards.
Yeah, yep, for sure. I regret not going when I was in
Yeah,
there.
I wish I could go.
Maybe they'll need another shot. All right, hearing none, I'll call the board meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do roll call.
Matt Bryce,
Here.
Tashina Rager, Steve Bont,
Here.
Ronnie Schuler,
Here.
Brent McCurdy.
Here. All right, Matt, do you have the?
Yep.
All right. Statement and the rules.
The mission statement. The mission of the school district of St. Croix Falls is to provide a supportive, student-centered learning environment that cultivates character, fosters academic excellence, and embraces diversity. The board meeting rules focus on the mission and vision statements of the district. Come prepared, be respectful of others, and open accepting of ideas. Actively participate, avoid side conversations, remember board meetings are open forum.
Thank you, Matt. We'll go to superintendent's comments.
Principals first?
Principal, sorry, I clicked on that a little early. We'll start with you, Mr. Wilson.
Sounds good. A couple things going on. It's the end of the third quarter this Friday, which is hard to believe, but we're heading into the busiest stretch of the year for the high school world. So I'm going to have a senior class meeting on Monday to go over fourth quarter expectations, attendance policies and procedures, all that good stuff in there. Lay out from here until graduation night with them. And I also sent an email home to parents, or it's going out tonight, explaining some of those things too, and I'll follow that up with a letter in a couple weeks. So yeah, home stretch is here. ECT was 2 weeks ago, and then we had ECT retakes today. We had 3 kids do that, and we've got 2 left for retake in 2 weeks. So winding that up with a lot of help from Mr. Cray. We're now shifting gears into the pre-ACT season. So not only is it fourth quarter, but it's testing season. So pre-ACT for 9th and 10th graders. That'll include working with Ms. Bauman to pull together a prep session for those kids as well, so they're well prepared and ready to go for that testing day. I have not had any luck yet finding a director for our play. It's been posted out there for quite a while, and I've been contacting a few different people, Isaac and a few different people, to try to, shake the bushes and find someone, and we haven't had any luck yet. So I'll continue to do that and reach out, but at this point we're sitting in no man's land. So hopefully we can pull something together soon, so we can get planning that for the fall potentially. And then the last thing, just to be aware of, we are offering the Youth Risk Behavior Survey on Thursday of this week, so that's a CDC thing. The state of Wisconsin, a lot of districts in the state of Wisconsin offer this survey to their students. It's an anonymous survey. Students go online and punch in a code that is just for our school. No names or demographic information is used, and it asks a bunch of different questions on healthy and risky behaviors of students, and then we utilize that in the school counseling program and the health curricular areas to kind of determine what, where kids are at, those type of things. So an example would be vaping, how common are people vaping or seeing it or that type of thing. Another couple examples would be seatbelt usage, hours of sleep per night per student. So that survey is happening on Thursday. I have already sent out the opt-out letter to all families, so if families don't want their kids to take it, they can send that opt-out letter back in. I've got about 10 of them so far, I would say. So that's what I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Imhoff.
The week before spring break, the middle school had an anti-bullying campaign. We had dress-up days, daily messaging at school and on social media, along with a number of activities that the kids did. It was organized by our Saints for Change group, which, remember, is a pilot group between us and Polk County Health and Mr. Torres. State testing for grades 5 through 8 starts next Tuesday, April 1st. The staff is working this week to get the kiddos ready for the test, and I think we're ready to go. Spring sports will also be starting next week on Monday with track. We have 60+ kids signed up as of now. And the annual talent show will be April 17th. Audition started yesterday, and Miss Becker came down to my office yesterday afternoon and said, "You're not going to believe all the talent we have here." So I don't know if all the good ones went first or what, but I'm excited to see it.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Platt.
Well, the good news is Mrs. Peterson returned from her maternity leave today, and her baby boy Finn is adorable and healthy. And that means that it's almost time for Mrs. Rager to go out on maternity leave, and Maddie Nichols will cover for her as well. And it's almost time for Mr. Rager to go out on paternity leave for an entirely different baby. And he will have Mrs. Gillen as his long-term sub. Mrs. Iafrate, the bad news is Mrs. Iafrate she's an amazing fourth grade teacher. Her husband is taking his dream job in California. So that's good news for him, but bad news for us because Mrs. Iafrate must go where her husband goes. So she sent me a letter of resignation this week. Sam Roach is going to come over from the middle school, return to her elementary school roots, and we're excited about that. The annual family dance with a Hollywood Nights theme is on Friday. And we are finishing up changes to the master schedule that need to be made due to the 4K K-switch, but all is well, and we're humming along at the elementary school in Dresser.
Very good, thank you. Now we can go to superintendent comment.
Fantastic. Well, I only have 45 minutes worth for you tonight. Actually, with spring break last week, for most of our students and staff, there isn't a ton, but wanted to let you know that Josh Tyler, our school resource officer, and I had a meeting with local law enforcement as well as county law enforcement and emergency management, talking about some things with respect to our crisis plan and things we're going to put in place, both here in the short term and then in the long term. That was during spring break week, and so I think that was a fruitful and beneficial meeting. There isn't really a ton of substance as we're talking about cohesively developing some things at the whole Polk County level in terms of access to school district crisis plans and identifying some similarities that they'd like to see, that sort of thing. During that conversation, I also spoke with, and I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. He's a captain, I think a captain with Polk County Sheriff's Department, but indicated that when you have deputies out on patrol, they're welcome to stop by our school, simply ring in and say that they're just there to walk through and check it out, because I think it's awesome to have law enforcement involvement in our schools and have kids, get to see and interact with the cops. Because my brother is a cop, although I don't recommend interacting with him because he's kind of, he's a good guy. But anyway, so that I think was a beneficial meeting, and we're gonna move forward on some, hopefully on some countywide initiatives with respect to school safety and crisis response. The other thing is that we currently have 5 applications for the middle school principal position, and the timeline then appears to be, holding tight. We'll do an interview process sometime during the month of April, and hopefully have a name for you folks for potential approval come May. We will put together a fairly comprehensive team to conduct the interviews. And hopefully we arrive at a decent candidate. Upon review of the 5, I can tell you that 2 of the 5 have experience, direct experience as an administrator currently, and 3 of the 5 do not, but have some unique things that they might bring to the table. So the applications so far look pretty decent. Don't know how many people we'll bring in total interview necessarily yet. We'll wait and see what we look at in terms of how many people applied and what qualifications they bring to the table, make some determinations there. But I'm guessing anywhere between 4 and 6, that's what I would think. So that's moving along. We also have no updates currently on information coming from the Department of Ed and what that means. And so that is still a holding pattern for most school districts in the state and probably the nation, because it's still not clear what the implications are. As I mentioned last time, I think the broader implications are what might come in terms of funding reduction, not necessarily who's responsible for overseeing the programs. And that we don't know at this stage. On the state level, the state government will begin working on their budget in earnest relatively soon. And in that regard, we have no additional details on the 25-27 biennial budget that will be in development relatively shortly here. Although I'm getting an update next week with respect to what things are looking like at the Capitol, and if anything of substance comes from that, I'll be sure to let you guys know.
All right, thank you. All right, board members' comments related to training. I guess I wasn't here last month when we did this portion, and I didn't report on the state convention, so I'll wing it here tonight. I'm again very pleased with the convention. I thought all the keynote speakers were very good this year, and it seemed to have a theme. I don't know, about kind of building morale and kind of that what things you can do to help retain staff and bring staff in, positive cultures and all that kind of stuff. They all had different ways of doing it, but unique ways of talking about it, but it was very good. I think one of the other, I went to one session where it sounded like they were going to try to get school board presidents and members together on more, not just through a CISA, but through more regional type things, maybe go smaller than the CISA. And I was looking forward to that one too, just to, even if you get names and contact numbers so you can collaborate and different things, ask questions. And Osceola president sat next to me. We exchanged phone numbers, and that was about the end of it. Because, the room was over double booked or something like that, so we got started late, so half the presentation, didn't even get, they didn't get to go through it because they were gonna break us down into regions and areas and do that, but they didn't have time. I caught an interesting one, Brian, that I got some information I probably should have passed on a long time ago, but just on cybersecurity, different things. I can't remember which CISA has some programs and things you can use to bounce some ideas off or, whatever. Just to have a resource or something to talk to or whatever, but I'll pass that information on to you. It's another typical, I was not pleased with the delegate assembly. It seemed, they couldn't get the technology to work, and we were there forever, it went along, and a lot of people just saying the same thing over and over and over. So it was not, I don't know, I thought that was almost a waste of time this year, but normally I enjoy that. But, so other than that, I think the conference was good. I enjoyed the hotel. I thought having the breakfast, right, and the little happy hour, they called it a happy hour, but it had food there. It was nice, within walking distance. So it's another option. Granted, it wasn't 40 below either, so right. That makes a difference. They did have buses too. All right, anybody else have an opportunity for training in the last month? All right, we don't have any public comment or awards, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And there we have a motion by Ronnie,
Second.
second by Matt. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to curriculum and policy. We have the review and vote on the Northern School District Trust 2025 annual meeting delegate. We talked about that last meeting, right?
Yep.
I think Matt agreed to do it again, but he might not go.
Right.
I'll make a motion to nominate Matt as our Northern School District Trust 2025 annual meeting delegate.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Ronnie and a second by Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Look for a motion to review or vote on the 2025 FFA Canada trip.
ECCP.
The ECCP.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
I'll take a motion to vote, to approve the applications for the 35 early college credit program applicants.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Matt,
I'll second it.
second by Tashina. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we'll move on and approve the 2025 FFA Canada trip.
I'll make a motion to approve the FFA 2025 Canada trip.
Motion by Steve,
I'll second.
second by Ronnie. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go on to personnel and review and vote on the addition of a halftime custodian substitute, which is something that we discussed at the last meeting.
Correct.
You want to review it again for us?
Yeah, so the request came from Brian Warner, the Buildings and Grounds Department, indicating that there's a two-fold reason behind the request. First off would be a 4-hour day, like 3 to 7 or 4 to 8 sort of shift that someone would be spending the majority of their time here in the boardroom and the Performing Arts Center, Fine Arts Center, and associated area just with general cleaning and maintenance and upkeep. There wasn't any additional time devoted to this portion when it was constructed. And secondarily, that this person would be the go-to in terms of custodial substitute when various shifts would be in need of a sub. And what I mentioned last meeting was the same as I would mention for our teacher subs or any other kind of sub position, and that is, it's not easy to find people that are available to sub, and frankly, a lot of the subs that we utilize, particularly in the custodial area, are those that are retired and are doing other things during the winter that don't include staying in St. Croix Falls. So having somebody kind of on call or to fill in as needed in that area is going to be hugely beneficial, which means that it technically won't be a half-time position. It will probably be, you know, a minimum of 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and a maximum of 40 hours a week if there's enough subbing opportunities, but somewhere in between that.
I have a question. So if they're doing 4-hour days, 5 days a week, and they get called into sub on Friday, or is there any situation in which they could end up over 40 hours?
I don't believe so because, and of course Brian would be able to more than adequately answer the question. Typically, we have some advance warning that individuals are gone. Since this is a second shift sort of gig, if we needed like 2 subs, for example, we would have this person slotted in during the day and then they'd be done. So they would never necessarily work over 8 hours in a day. It wouldn't be an expectation that they would do an 8-hour shift and then the 4. So the 4 would take a back seat. The portion that they have associated with being here, you know, and working through areas of this facility would take a back seat to the sub gig. So technically, no. And if since it's a second shift-ish, you know, 4 to 8 or 3 to 7, we're going to most of the time know when that shift change is going to take place, and just whether or not it be 4 or 8 hours is the only determination we should be able to have to make.
And on the regular, does this addition get enough use to occupy someone for 4 hours daily?
I think if, not 100% no, so they're gonna be doing other miscellaneous things that kind of get left behind for, with other custodians, something as simple as cleaning windows. So that doesn't happen as frequently as it probably could, because, again, our custodians are top-notch, and no one's standing around in terms of that world. And there's always some miscellaneous things that can get picked up on, areas that we might not clean as frequently as that could be cleaned as a result of staffing issues and that sort of thing. So, no, there'll be multiple things for this person to do, and I have no question that they'll be busy for the 4 hours if that's all they're doing.
But again, will this qualify for benefits if it's a halftime?
So to start out, the answer to that question would be probably no. However, because of the Affordable Care Act, when they do a one-year look back at that averages close to that 32 hours a week, then they would be eligible for benefits. So a benefit package may be an eventuality the following year, depending upon, because the ACA is always a 12-month look back, so it's reflective. In year one, I don't believe it'd come with benefits, because the plan is that they're half-time, which would not be benefit eligible. But after the first year, so whenever the 12-year look back is, if they have met that 32-hour threshold, then they would be eligible for benefits. Yeah.
Then this position would be like immediate, or would it start next school year? Like through, I'm asking, I guess, is it through the summer then too?
It would be through the summer, no, this is through the summer. Yes, I think it is. And I'm not 100% clear when Brian wanted to start it, to be honest with you. I think that he's gonna post and see what we can get. If we can get somebody to come in and start doing it sooner than later, we'll do that. Yep.
If there is a person, and I, this is hypothetical completely, a person that is like one of our bus drivers, so they're getting hours as a bus driver, and then they want to do this job too, then they would be more considered more full-time.
Correct. Yep. So, and as a standard route driver, it wouldn't work because of the time frame. But if it's somebody that's picking up hours to drive athletic trips or field trips, that kind of thing, then yeah, they could be eligible sooner than later.
Any other questions? All right, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of a halftime custodian / substitute.
We have a motion by Ronnie,
I'll second it.
second by Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Yeah, I was gonna think, do we have to roll call that? Because it's,
We don't have to, but we can. I mean, we don't roll call normal
okay,
personnel.
that's fine. All right, so I'll say it again. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll go on and talk about the CSF contract for 25-26. Again, that was something that was presented to us in the last meeting. There was no changes, basically, right?
Correct, and it's become clear as of late last evening that we may have to contract with CSF for school psychology services. But we don't have the definitive answer to that question yet, because there was another candidate that Shelley was going to reach out to. But that would be an add-on, and then of course, when we would do that, I'll bring forward what those costs would be for approval of that add-on. But we don't know that here in the short term. So, as of right now, yes, it's pretty much comparable to this school year, 24-25, with about a 4% increase.
Just a normal increase, yeah.
Correct.
So do we have to note that in the voting, that amendment would come forward later, or?
No, because you're gonna approve what's in the contract, and that's not part of the contract, so you're good to go, and then when it is added, I'll bring forward what that cost is and seek action on that.
All right. I'll take a motion to approve the 2025-26 CSS contract.
I'll make that approval for the 2025-26 CISA shared services contract.
Motion by Tashina,
I'll second.
second by Ronnie. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Announcement, the board of canvassers and date.
Okay, so we need, no later than 9 AM on Tuesday, April 8th. So usually I think we do it at like 8:30, so that we convene before then. It would be Doc, and since you're not on the ballot, you could do it if you wanted to. If you don't, you'd have to ask somebody else. And then I would get
I
to,
don't mind doing it.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants to do it.
I mean, if you want to come in, yeah, that'd be perfect. And
So
then
Tuesday?
Tuesday, April 8th,
Yeah, that works good for me.
we'll do it at 8:30. Does that work? And then, I'll just do it like in the past, 2 other people from the district office. We've had, usually Betsy and Tammy, because they're both in district.
Sure. Might be a little more work with the write-in this year, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, do we don't need a motion for any of that? Nope. Okay. Upcoming events, April 1st is the spring election, so that's coming up here pretty quick. And we do have one write-in candidate that has officially turned into paperwork, right?
Yep.
And then April 3rd was that joint PAC-BOE CISA meeting at Turtle Lake. I know I expressed interest in.
Is it too late to confirm?
I registered you all
Okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
All right.
So
Because
I was in that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect, yeah.
yes.
Right.
And I believe,
Secured care, so we're good.
For Joe.
Well, maybe Joe, maybe my mom.
No, care for Joe.
I care.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I care for Joe daily. I provide that care.
Because he needs care.
Yeah, lots of it.
All right, yeah, so we'll have to leave here around 5:30.
Yep, I think we'll, between Lorraine and I, will remember to reserve a district vehicle and head over there at 5:30.
All right. Sounds good. Then we have the April 8th committee meeting, again at 5:15. And a reminder that April 21st is a Monday meeting. So put that, make a note on your calendar for that one.
And that's the one I will not be attending.
Ryan will not be there. All right, Matt, rules of the meeting.
All right, we focused on the mission, vision statements of the district, came prepared, we were respectful of others and open and accepting of ideas, we actively participated, avoided side conversations, and remembered board meetings are open forum.
Thank you, Matt. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to section 19.851C of Wisconsin statutes.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Steve,
I'll second.
second by Ronnie. We'll do a roll call vote.
Matt Bryce,
Yes.
Christina Rager,
Yes.
Steve Bont,
Yes.
Ronnie Schuler,
Yes.
Brent McCurdy.
Yes. With that, we are in closed session.
Thank you, school board.
Thank you, admin team.